us an exceptional panel of speakers who embody these qualities and bring with them a wealth of knowledge and experience.
Before we introduce our esteemed panelists, let me take a moment to acknowledge the moderator of this session, Dr. Rohit Dwivedi, Associate Professor of Organizational Behavior and HR, and Chairperson of the Management Development Program at IIM Shillong. With his deep expertise in organizational behavior and leadership, Dr. Dwivedi will guide us through this engaging discussion.
Now, let us introduce our esteemed panelists. Mr. Dheeraj Gaur, Chief Executive Officer at Arete Capital Service Private Limited. Sir has over 2 decades of experience in institutional sales and asset management. Previously, he held leadership roles at Principal PNB Asset Management, Baroda Pioneer AMC, and Morgan Stanley, focusing on corporate relationships and market development. We welcome you, sir.
Mr. Pankaj Phatak, Director and Group HR Head, Central Functions at Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, an alumnus of IIM Calcutta. Sir has over 21 years of experience at Dr. Reddy's, holding diverse roles across global operations. He led major initiatives, including integrating a 2,000 employee acquisition and driving internal communication across multiple verticals.
Mr. Robin Scaria, Chief Human Resources Officer at RappiPay, an alumnus of IIM Bangalore. Sir has over 2 decades of experience in leadership roles at Accenture, Capgemini, and Tata Consultancy Services, excelling in business HR, talent management, and global operations, with expertise in managing complex environments, mergers, and multinational teams across diverse industries. Welcome, sir.
Mr. Suhas Kulkarni, founding member and CPTO at Red Hill. Sir has over 25 years of experience building and scaling mission-critical platforms in domains like health tech, ride-sharing, gaming, and enterprise software. At Red Health, he is revolutionizing medical response times across India. He previously led engineering teams at Uber, Social Code, Gree, and Oracle, focusing on high-performance systems, platform scalability, and data-driven solutions. We welcome you, sir.
Mr. Ulf Nessler, Chief Financial Officer at Mercedes-Benz Research and Development India. Sir's career spans over 2 decades with a proven track record in strategic financial oversight and operational efficiency across global markets. He brings extensive experience in global automotive financial management and excelled in joint ventures, product controlling, and financial leadership. Welcome, sir. Each of our speakers bring a unique perspective on the evolving role of leadership in their respective fields, and we are privileged to have them here with us today. Let us welcome our moderator and esteemed panelists onto stage. Thank you, and over to you, Dr. Dwivedi.
And the reason why I will do that is because these people hate me for going haywire. So, well, good evening to all of you. And as expected, there'll be a bit of mischief. The mischief is I will only act as a machine while the engagement needs to come from you. Is that all right, panelists? And trust me, we've talked about it, that the engagement needs to come from the audience. So what we'll do is you've listened to the profile of your speakers, and they're all your guests, and I'm only assisting you. You know where they're coming from. You know and have understood and must have done your homework on what their domain expertise is. What I do only is that this team who's put together this panel, they decided to write a concept note. I will only read out that concept note, and will, instead of doing the Q&A towards the end, for which we may not have the time if we were to switch over to the discussion here. So we'll do is, we'll raise a set of questions. I will take a note of all those questions, and then we'll open up for discussion and whatever points which the distinguished panelists have. Is that fair? Is that okay? Okay. Well, what we're doing is we're trying to understand and ask this big question about what kind of a leadership, and especially business leadership, do we need to train ourselves? You need to do that more because you are younger and you are the ones who are going to come and sit on these chairs a couple of years down the line. And therefore, we need to train ourselves and equip ourselves with those capabilities. While we have this distinguished panel sitting here who've seen the world and would leave those chairs just at the cusp where the technology is going to take over and probably impact the way we do business today. And what is more interesting for this panel is, although it's a HR panel, but we have people who are as diverse as the ones who are there. And therefore, we just need to ask the right questions. Evolving business landscape in India, driven by technological advancements, workforce expectations, and economic shifts, has placed a renewed focus on leadership and human resources. The way organizations manage people and cultivate leadership determines their ability to adopt the disruptions and drive sustainable change. As digital transformations and workforce challenges become more prominent, HR functions must take center stage in shaping the future of work and aligning organizational goals with people strategies. Well, just that very brief. And the expertise put together in each one of them and as a panel. What kind of questions do we need to raise so that we go back with some understanding into the scheme of things as they may shape, and what are the kind of challenges which are there for the industry and industry leaders like them? What should you discuss with them to get the most out of this given time which we have? How much time do we have? Okay, all right. And also further our understanding of how the practitioners reflect on what is changing and what impact will it have on our understanding of how business education needs to be done. Accepting the responsibility that whatever we are teaching and learning may not be enough, may not be sufficient. Whether there is a component of the human element which shall remain in all what we theorize and practice, and if such human aspects will get simplified or grow more challenging and maybe romantic. Could we have a set of questions which I can take a note of, and then we invite the panelists to share their thoughts and what they feel?
Okay, before we get, I'm so sorry to interrupt you here, right? So before we take questions from the students, I knew there was something more to the flowery introduction, right? The plan was to put us in under spotlight, right? All right, so let's have it from you guys. What all that is playing on your mind, and what is it that you would want to, seek from us from our experiences, right?
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Greetings, panelists. My name is Divyan Agarwal. So, sir, as sir mentioned, that there is a incoming change in terms of business landscape and the role of HR in companies. I would like to ask, how is the changing technology as well as the dynamic environment affecting succession planning? Because that too is a key aspect of managing the human resource of the company.
Fair. Yep. You're just generating all the questions. Go ahead.
Good evening, panelists. My name is Jocelyn George, and I have a question. Now, there are no longer product companies. It's all technology-enabled companies. But the education that we have is basically, if we are studying mechanical engineering or automobile engineering, it's purely mechanical or purely product-based. So how do we carve ourselves for this new change dynamics?
Good evening, esteemed panelists. My name is Anarshka Kumar. My question is, what role does analytics play in changing HR landscape?
Thank you. My name is Mohammed. So, from our previous panelists, also that we have heard, the late millennials, Gen Zs, Gen Alphas have a lot of behavior changes, have a lot of perspective changes, and all have a different rate of retention. And this people only are going to come in the workforce in the coming future. So, how that dynamic is going to change, and how of us as future decision makers and you in your current stage can tackle this dynamic. Thank you.
One more question.
Good evening, everyone. So as today industries are focusing a lot on diversity, and with diversity we don't only mean the gender or culture, but we also focus on the diversity in the terms of skill. So we being going to join corporate and very soon in the coming years. So what are the skills being in the HR domain are expected from the talents which are hired in the industry?
Okay. Let me solve it. Say, we're talking about the function of HR, and we're talking about certain rules and skills. And just as a trigger to the panel discussion, we have these set of questions that talk about succession planning, technology-enabled company, what kind of role will behavioral analytics will have, and of course, the big challenge of managing this intergenerational difference between attributes and span of attention, preferences one has, and expectations out of the life. And of course, managing that kind of diversity inside a workplace, inside business organization. So only to kickstart, Robin and Pankaj, both of you thought, can you share your experiences of embedding HR practices into broader organizational practice? You may explore fostering a culture of agility or innovation, but what beyond that, which needs to address this problem of skill gap, generational differences and technology taking over slightly more role in how business is done.
Thanks. Am I audible? Okay, I think I'm static. So, sort of taking a practice view of the question, the dynamics of AI is definitely going to make an impact for sure. You will have impacts of intergenerational issues coming up. You will definitely see issues. You will also see the prospects of analytics playing a very important role in the going future. But if you were to just recast on what exactly the future of human resources is going to remain, in my submission, the fundamentals of the function will remain the same. And what I mean by that is, if you just step back and look at the remit of what a HR ecosystem delivers for an organization, you fundamentally look at 4 important dimensions, right? And the first important dimension would be the building of capability or talent depth, as I would call it, in the organization. That is not going to go away. You are going to be part of the organization to bring in the right talent, enable talent development. Succession is going to be a very, very important part of it. And how AI is going to enable it? It's going to become an accelerator. It's going to become an accelerator of information. It's going to personalize the information, right? So to that end, you will see this as a massive acceleration of changes that is happening with regard to what are the practices you're carrying out. Bear in mind, in my view, the fundamentals of the function are not going to change. You're going to focus on the 4 important remits. I spoke about talent depth. The second important dimension that you will continue focusing on is helping organizations manage talent cost. Now, why talent cost is important, depending upon which industry you come from. Talent cost could range from 5% to 60% of your revenue. Now, AI or no AI, your leaders, your investors will have that in the back of their mind as to how efficiently are you managing it, right? And so by that extent, what AI does, and again, I'm going to go back and I'm going to oscillate, so just bear with me. AI, from what I have observed, is going to be an accelerator of information. It's going to personalize and it's going to build accuracy of information flow. Now, why information is important? Because information is the index on which you make decisions. You make a wrong decision, you create a cost, right? For instance, if you languish with a poor performer because you don't have the information of the individual for way too long, you have paid so much of salary to the individual. You have incurred a cost. Leave the productivity and the impact cost for the organization, right? So cost is another important dimension. And how do you also manage the cost? You work on pyramids, you work on workforce planning. That means your partnership with the business has to be very, very strong, because whatever you solve for has to be solved in context, right? So your partnership and that fundamental is still not going to change. It's going to remain. Your CEO, your investor is going to ask you as to how are you optimizing within the AOP or the annual operating budget that I've given you in maximizing the productivity for the company with the limited resources. The fundamental of capitalism is not going to change. Fundamental of capitalism is do more with less. So I just believe that AI is just going to be an accelerator in this whole ecosystem. The third important dimension that's not going to change, and that is the dimension of ensuring talent stability. Why? Because attrition comes at a cost. If you mathematically look at it, attrition costs the company 50% to 200% of the CTC of the exiting employee. This is on account of your IP movement. If you're losing a talent to your competitor, you have a problem there. You pay money to resolve litigation fees. You may probably see what happened between Infosys and Wipro, right? That's a cost. Who bore the cost? There was a time lag. There was a productivity loss. There are dimensions of, how do you hire back people? And so there's latency in the system. The second important problem from a stability standpoint is continuation of institutional knowledge. And that's a numero uno problem that's in the mind of every CEO and every investor, because you have created a moat of knowledge, you have created a moat of intellect. And if your talent moves, the knowledge and that critical advantage moves. So you play still a very vital role in ensuring stability. So your measures of how do you manage stability, you work on your engagement models. That's not going to change. That's going to remain the same. You're going to leverage career. You're going to leverage total rewards. You're going to leverage culture as important levers in hand. Fundamentally manage talent. And the most important dimension from a remit of human resources is that you will continue to be asked and you'll be continued to be expected to manage dimensions of compliances. Today, we are a very regulated we are in a very regulated ecosystem from a country standpoint. On an average, when you move into the field of human resources, you have to comply to a minimum of 20 employment laws in this country. Now, depending upon how many states you're present in, that adds to the multiplier effect, because each state has got a version of what the interpretation of the law is. That's one. Second is, look at the dimensions of what's happening around. You have GDPR, PII. I'm sure all of you have been doing your case studies around this, right? And you're dealing with massive employee databases. You're not only going to be regulated by these laws, but you're also going to be regulated by entities where your industry is present. I come from fintech. I'm heavily regulated and monitored by RBI. We are heavily monitored by SEBI. We are heavily monitored by IRDAI, the insurance monitoring ecosystem of what do we do with information. Because the private citizen information, agnostic of what role the individual is playing in your organizations, is your accountability. So these are dimensions that will not change. The fundamental of the trade of the function is not going to change. Now recast it to what AI is going to do. As I've called out, it's fundamentally going to bring a velocity of information. It's going to build accuracy of information because it's fundamentally an iterative tool, right? It uses regression and iteration on the back end to build averaging, and it becomes sharper over a period of time. It is going to give you accuracy of information, and it is going to personalize the journey. So when you recast it across the complete talent life cycle, you are going to see speed of information as leaders, whether you're going to go into the field of human resources or are you going to manage human resources, right? If you're going to be a CEO of the company and you're looking at your balance sheet with 60% of your costs coming from towards people cost, specifically if you're from services, then you will be very, very keen to see how efficient is your pyramid working. Are you really getting bang for the buck? If you're an FMCG, then fundamentally your cost will be as low as 5 to 10%. But then again, that also requires an answer as to, is it that people are doing more with less? So I think the fundamentals of the trade is not going to change. AI will remain an accelerator. And I think we should see it in context and leave it for what it is.
Hi folks, good evening. So I was interacting with Professor Rohit while coming back from the airport, and he told me that this is one of the best IIMs, the best talent that you will find in any of the IIMs. So I said, okay, normally when somebody challenges me like this, I do a check-in and I ask a question. And the question is, how is the Josh? Hi, how is the Josh? Hi, that's good. Now we'll have fun. So the 2 pointers that I'll take from the note while he was doing the narrative, and also some of you have said, the constant word that was coming up, if I do a cloud word, the word that was coming was change, isn't it? Whatever you do, change is something which is constant. And second piece I will take up is on the human resources, which Robin also spoke a lot on it. I will try to add a few more points on that. So if you look at change, and this is again my perspectives, my colleagues, panelists agree, disagree, and we're happy to do that. But to me, whenever the change, the person who gets impacted the most is the employee. And if you look at the Gartner research, it states that there is a lower trend in terms of employees supporting the organizational change. As per data points, it was 77% in 2016, which means 77% of the employees are willing to go for the changes. Now that has declined from 77% to 38%. The HR managers, 77% of the HR managers feels that employees are really fatigued, they are burnout. The HR leaders also feel that the managers are not equipped to manage change. So the underlying theme is not change management. The underlying theme is effective change management. And I keep telling my teams, my cross-functional views, that effective change management hinges on the interplay of two most important things. One is the what part called logic, and the how part is called emotion. If you neglect or don't focus or defocus, you will compromise on the overall effectiveness of the change management. Let me give a simple example. Visualize a triangle or a pyramid. The top of the triangle, you will have top brass, CXOs, CFOs, board, everybody. They have an absolute clarity what needs to be done in next 3 years, up to the T. You ask them, even in the night, they'll tell you how the organization should run for next 3 years. You take up the middle management. Middle management will have a clarity for next 3 months. And the bottom of the pyramid, where the change is going to happen, where 80-90% of the organization is concentrated, they have clarity for today or at the most for 3 days. Now the somebody at top level who has a clarity of 3 years is asking to change somebody who has a clarity only for 1 day or 3 days. So there is a ProSci change management certification body. What they have done a research on 20,000 projects across the globe, across the industry, and what they found was really, really insightful, and actually used it in my transformation journey. The insight was that whenever there is a change you are going to enable in any organization, the objectives, the impact, everything should be communicated by the top leaders. But the real change happening on the ground, it should not be the top leadership or the middle management. It has to be the immediate line manager, the day-to-day operation. That is where your emotion will also come into play, because the line manager has got better clarity about the individual than anybody else in the organization. Now I'm just shifting towards the HR. As somebody asked a question on succession planning, that is just the input of it. But HR is not what HR is all about now. HR has completely transitioned from the perspective, the way we look at business. I'll start with, say, a decade back, HR was more of a personnel management. It was managing contracts, scope of work, terms and conditions. The focus are on the operational excellence. They are full-fledged operations. That moved from personnel to human resources. So in addition doing what they were doing in the personal work, they started focusing on designing and delivering HR practices, plus functional excellence. So from operation, they moved to functional. Then from the human resources, we moved to human capital. What did we do in human capital? We started understanding business. We started translating the business strategy into the people strategy and developing the action item that can drive the business. So the focus from operational to functional to business, and the focus on talent. And the most important piece, which is the need of the hour, where we need to all move. And that is what my moonshot, wherever I talk to any budding HR professional or the people who are keen to make their careers in HR, is human capability. So from human capital to human capability. Now, what is human capability? Human capability is you have to look the lens of outside in, not inside out. HR is not about HR. HR is all about creating a success in the marketplace. How are your HR practices, any practices, are they impacting cost, service, growth? Robin mentioned about the manpower cost. Is our practices impacting them? If not, relook at it. There is a concept called values for value. It's a very simple concept and it's very easy to understand. So every organization has got values: dynamism, empathy, collaboration, agility. But if those values are not going to get converted into a value for the stakeholders, which is outside, you will not get the buck for it. Let's take an example of Enron. If you look at the value system of, all of you know Enron, correct? What was the value system of Enron? Integrity, agility, excellence, communication. If you go onto their website, and all the founders are in the jail. Classical example. So your values need to convert into value for your stakeholder. Now I will ask one question, two questions rather, and let me see if I get your answer. What is the one best thing that the HR leader or a business leader can do for an employee? And here are the 5 to 6 options. You have to pick one. So hear me very patiently. Number 1, physical and psychological safety. Option 1. Option 2, great culture, giving them a platform to learn, grow, excel. Option 3, giving them a sense of purpose. Option 4, a sense of belonging. Option 5, all of the above. Option 6, none of the above. Which one you will pick up? All of the above. Everybody is in with me? Great. I will answer this after asking the next question. Who pays salaries in the organization? Since the HR finance is here, don't say HR and finance now. Who pays salaries in the organization? And we have a heated debate on this. And most of the time, my colleagues all used to say customer. And that is where we need to step back and say it's a shareholder for me. They are the ones who are invest into my organization. I use that money, invest into my R&D, develop product, sell it to a customer buys, I get the revenue, and the investor invests more and more. So shareholder. So what I'm trying to bring in, the human capability is all about outside in. You need to start putting a lens of outside in. Now coming to my first question where you said 0.5, all of the above, I disagree. And that's a moonshot. The answer is none of the above. HR is not about HR. HR is about giving a successful organization to the employee. You start with that. That is your starting point. Work backwards in developing your system, processes, so that you get to the moonshot. So when I talk about human capability, if we permit time today, I'll speak more because there are other topics as well, but human capability has got 4 elements. One is talent. Do you have the right people in the organization in the right role? Then is the leadership. Do you have the right leadership and the leaders across the level? Then the organization. Do you have the right culture, right capability, right teams? And in order to support and enable this, do you have the right HR team who have a mindset of outside in? Do you have these great system and processes? And keep asking yourself time and again, are my practices impacting any of the lag indicators? What are my lag indicators? Service, cost, growth. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. The core of the HR remains the same. Continue to serve the same function as it's been doing. Modus operandi may change, technology may become enabled. And the very core value of ensuring that the shareholders get their value for money, and ultimately the level of sophistication where we've reached is that we are more accountable now as our HR function, as a HR professional. While yes, as HR professionals, you agree to that and you're convinced and committed to it, but we also have top business managers here. Do you think both Suhas and Ulf, the present day business leadership is ready to make that switch? Saying that, yes, we have hybrid work models now. We have this generational change in values which is happening. We have the gig economy which is shaping up the world. And Mercedes-Benz, R&D comes to a country like India. Now, are the business leaders of today ready to embrace that change? What is it that we need to do? How do you see that shift bringing about the change in how and what we are doing with people?
I'll take a stab at this. So maybe I'll start off with a question. Imagine you're all going to be CEOs, leaders very soon. Imagine you have 50 people reporting to you. They are spread across India, US, Barcelona, and for some reason you have not delivered the results because of communication issues, a bunch of other things. How do you go about solving that? This is a real problem that every CEO, every leader, business leader runs into. I ran into this at Uber, at Oracle, and before. Thoughts? Then I'll answer the questions.
Just remember what Professor Rohit said, that is the best talent, so you have to participate.
Looking for the Josh.
Hello. So, by my perspective, because you said that there are 3 different teams in 3 different countries, right? So if I were in your shoes, that is how my thought process worked right now. Is that I would have individual meetings which each of them understand what are the challenges they are facing in their geographies, what are can be probable constraints to achieve the particular goal in the quarter, right? And then we have a holistic meeting with all three countries, all three teams coming together, and just having a conversation on what can be potential solutions to it. And once we all are well versed with each other, then we can start building on the relationship, and then hence I do believe that the communication will get stronger henceforth. Thank you.
Okay, any other views before I jump in? Okay.
Hello, sir. If I had to think about this, I will only think as an Indian, and it will be my mentality. And judging on my parameters for 3 different countries would be difficult. So the first idea that I would try to inculcate would be decentralization, focusing on teams in a decentralized manner where I can get the inputs, and then cultivating a right culture so that they all can fit. And that is how I look into the problem, because I can take this problem from one lens only, but decentralization will give me 3 different lenses, and then framing the idea in the right manner will help me. This is how I would look.
Yeah, makes sense. So I'll give you a very, very practical answer to this. This actually happened. I'll tell you my journey at Uber. During the early days of Uber, when we were building the MVP and setting up the product market fit and all that, so all the team members were in the same room, same building, and the communication was easy. Building the product was faster. You just go and tap someone's shoulders to ask a question. Everything would get answered, and everyone knew exactly what was happening. Now, fast forward 3 years from that point, we opened up New York office, and we had other buildings where, because the company grew so fast, you had people sitting in the other building in the same San Francisco city. Now, that's where the communication gaps started. How do you go about doing it? So you have Zoom calls and Google Meet and whatnot. Still, it started affecting. So which means, as leaders, we were not very well prepared. And what we did then was to reinvent. And during those times, we went with the whole Scrum model and communicating more and more often and stuff like that. And then that's when things like OKRs and what are you delivering next week and daily stand-ups. These are the basic things that every company does in order to make sure you have a pulse on the results. Are you going to achieve it, not achieve it? You'll have a advance, you could predict that. Now, fast forward now, imagine your globally distributed teams, different time zones, hybrid environment, remote workspace. How do you go about doing it? Things that are being discussed in one country, how is that intelligence gets moved to the other side? And this is where I feel role of AI is a huge change. If you look at Fathom AI, all it does is transcribes your conversation and creates a summary of all of that and the action items, which gets relayed, right? So the role of AI is going to significantly help leaders, because again, adapting to these and changing environment is not easy for everyone. Not every leader can adapt to change, because their leadership style is not necessarily adapting to change, may not be their the most strongest point. How do you handle this? And this is where what is necessary, if you look at what is the dramatic shift that's happening around you at this moment, is the AI, where you have to look at, and also it correlates with how HR as a function is partnering with you. So if you want to build a performance culture across the globe, HR, although it's a custodian of culture, but also every employee in the company it contributes to building a great culture, right? When you have that, if it is performance driven, output driven, how do you create impact? And you talked about investors these days look at revenue per employee and how much impact are you creating. Now, all of that essentially leads to how can you correlate business impact to the employee performance. I'll tell you a story. So I was building an enterprise SaaS performance management system. It's a startup idea. Then I was validating with a bunch of investors. And then they asked me, hey, whom are you going to sell this to? I said, it's an HR function. I'm going to sell it to Robin as a CHRO. And the one consistent feedback I got from all the investors is, hey, is HR function a priority in that organization? That's a rude awakening for me. Traditionally, it is changing, but HR function is still considered as a support function. That's the reality of the situation. Now, the future of HR, is going to be how are you going to aligning with the business leaders to deliver the output, create impact. I think if you're looking to, again, I'm going back to the earlier question, what HR, if you want to be an HR leader, what skills you want to bring in, you need to think about creating impact, partnering with your business leader. And if you have that mindset, all of the ideas that you're going to come up with is going to align really well. So essentially, that's where it is, and again, is leadership ready to handle these things? Right now, it is not, because the AI and the actual usage of AI is still not at a employee level, team level. It needs to be your co-pilot for employee, co-pilot for your manager, who some of these managers or leaders who have direct reports, they may have transitioned from individual contributor to a manager, but they do not have sufficient training. And as a result of which, how well you are engaging with the employee and their success is lacking. And that's one of the reasons why you are losing talent. A top performer leaves a company because that focus is not there, right? So all of those things, I think AI is going to bring change. It's not there yet, and there is going to be a lot of innovation that allows you to do that. You want to take a step?
I want to focus not that the other, but as a German in US and China and now located in India, how do you see if there are any differences in the way people react, in the way businesses are ready? How do you see it?
Before I start, I think it's important for you, if this wasn't said before, you have 5 people here sitting with 5 different opinions or 5 different experiences and different opinions. I'm sure you will see as well there are maybe differences in the opinions, but somewhere when you listen very carefully, there's always a line. But the impact of you, whatever we say today, you have to decide for yourself. Because at the end, there are technical things which applies for everybody, but there are many things which apply for you as a person. Just as a little bit heads up. Because whatever I say, maybe you say, what is this for stupid thing? The others say, maybe it applies. So we have to be always cautious that everybody has a different background where he comes from. Because leadership, and I totally acknowledge what on the HR was what you said. I was actually, I will take it back and will push a little bit on the HR side. Quite thriving for me. But at the end, when we talk about value in our company, who creates the value? The value is done by the employee. They're still doing it. With machines' help, with AI's help, without, doesn't matter. We still have the people who create value. From the low to the top. Even you as future managers, you create a value. Now, the question is more, what is your role as a future leader, as a leader in a company, to create this value and to ensure what HR is doing, keeping the people, making sure the right system in place and so on, is not wasted. It comes to you as leader to lead people. And this is actually a question which is, in the first step, completely independent if you're in the US or in China or in India or in Germany. Because first, as a leader, you have to lead yourself. And I don't know if you have thought about this. What does it mean for you to lead yourself? Any idea? Have you ever written down what it means to me? If I want to be a leader, I have to lead first myself. Actually, I did this 20 years ago, or 25 years ago, properly. And it was an eye-opener for me, because how far I am away of a leader at this point of time. But it is really important to understand this when you come to the next level of a leader. To lead yourself, to lead business. To lead business means to understand business, to understand what impact I have, what is expected from me. Maybe this is, depends in which area you are. And then you come to leading others. The most challenging thing and the most responsible thing you will have in your life. Because HR will not take away the responsibility to lead a human being. And leading a human being means whatever you interact, and comes back to this transformational thing in a second, you impact them. You can destroy somebody or you can build up somebody. That means you have to be really, really aware of this. If you want to be a leader, what it means to be a leader. Now, to your question, what's the difference between these countries and moving from the US to China? It's a cultural shock when you come from one culture to other culture. Because you get used to something, you get used to behavior of people, the interaction with people, and then by a sudden you're in a different culture, in a different language, and by a sudden you have to put everything behind, not everything, you have to leave a lot of things behind, except the 3 things I just told you. They stay the same. Interesting, when I came from China now to India, as well, I was a little bit shaken. But when it comes to the point of these 3 things, this remains. Why is it so important? Because even doesn't matter which country you are, your employees you're responsible for, they will look at your, how do you behave? What do you show as character? How do you behave in certain situations against others? How to direct towards business? And then again, how do you interact with the people? Actually, we just talked earlier about it. No? I wanted to ask you a question. You haven't been in, anybody of you have been working in corporate business already? Or you have been only in school your whole life? So for anybody really with more than 3-4 months really corporate experience here? How long? More than 1 year? More than 2 years? Wow, good. I mean, excellent. I didn't expect this. Excellent, excellent. So you know how the life is. It's not easy, no? I know. I haven't forgotten about this. Don't worry. The only thing I think when I want to pick up on this leader thing is, when I hire employees, I always ask them a question. When I hire leaders, especially leaders in my area, or if I do cross-check interviews for other colleagues of mine, I ask them, What is the role model? Show me the best role model in the last couple of years you interacted with as a manager. Who would you like to be? Do you have some role model in your life? Managers. Anybody wants to mention one? Really somebody you want to say, that's what I want to be? Far corner.
He would be that barrier for our team so that no outsider can tell us anything, only he can criticize us and he will help us, and he was our mentor. So I want to be that kind of a leader who will protect the team and will also encourage them to grow.
Many thanks for the answer. Actually, I'm looking for something completely different. Really completely different. And time reason we stop here. Probably many people will come up with something similar, looking around who was the manager. We have to, as a leader, think leadership much wider. The best leadership happens outside of corporate business. You know where leadership really very often happens great? You go to soccer teams, the coaches, the captains. Look in your own family for leadership. Look at your parents. Actually, if you ask me who is my best role model, is my mother. And because she is not only focusing on my grades, on my deliveries in schools, or was focusing. No, she was as parallel as well, serving me by waking me up, making my clothes, making my food, earning money, keeping my dad somehow happy, making sure the family is managed well, and not only focusing on the business deliveries. Now, why I'm saying this, as leaders, we very often focus only on what you said from a business angle. But if you want to build up a high-performance culture with a high-performance team to deliver shareholder value, you have to go to the next level. And the next level is going beyond this. And I stop now here, and this is completely independent if you're in China and India, because at the end, it's how you interact with people. The difference is how people react on this, mostly the trust thing. No? In Germany, for example, we are very much trusting people immediately. If I meet somebody, we shake hands and the handshake is good, I trust the person. Very much. US already a bit different. Can I say this? I'm not so you Americans. And in China especially, it's completely opposite. You have to build up trust. Even as a leader towards your employee, and the employee towards the leader. And very often we're mixing these things up. We don't understand this, what is going on. But this is a fundamental thing in your leadership, to have a trust between you, your manager above you and below you. And very important, last but not least, and this applies, and I know this is in India now a little bit different, and in China as well. There's a story, one of my first managers I had in the US. I just became a young manager, young senior manager. He said to me, Ulf, look, actually it's a good example. What is laying there? Can you pick it up? It's laying there, nobody picks it up. Down there a little bit garbage, no? Nobody picks it up. No, don't have to get up now, you can pick it up later. The message he wanted to send me to me was, as a leader, you're a role model, and if you don't pick it up, nobody else will pick it up. actually many people walk over it. This is something in India I experience, and I take this as an example. People sometimes don't misunderstand me with doing this, but especially in India. But at the end, as a manager, you are a server. And when you serve your people and you know what it means to serve, you become a very good manager, a perfect manager. But you need to understand what it means that other can to serve others, that these people can serve you later on and work for you and go behind you, and you can build up an organization which delivers to your shareholders. That's a good one, actually. I was thinking about this to say, but then I was thinking, at the end the payment comes from the customer, but the shareholder decides about the salary increase. No. Sorry, this was long.
No, it wasn't long. It was a point and a big contradiction there. Why? Because what we see is people, the language which HR speaks, the finance does not understand. And what the finance expects, people in HR don't. Now, to come from you as a CFO, this means a lot. How do you resolve that conflict as an HR professional? Why? Because maybe some of these disciplinary boundaries are no longer required, where a hotel management expert switches over to start doing business, gets into finance, and is today talking about the same language, same grammar, and recalling the kind of role which mothers play and learning the leadership.
So in this case, it is a match. He's agreeing to what I am saying when I doesn't. So with the finance, I think he touched upon some of. Can I? He touched upon some of the important points, and that's a question to you guys. There is a CEO, there is a CFO who are highly focused on top line and bottom line. Short term, you are keep getting this top line and bottom line. There is a disruption in the market. AI has come, some other tech has come, completely disrupted. How do you ensure that your profitability and top line, it's in a sustainable way? It goes on 5 years, 10 years down the line. What is that key word which he also mentioned in his speech? What is that word I want to understand from you guys? And I'll just play a double click on it then. What is the word? He mentioned shareholder value and he mentioned one word. What is that word? So there is a top line, there is a bottom line. I'm talking about the middle line. What is that middle line called? If any organization has to be successful in the long term, the middle line has to be strong so that they can deliver the top line and the bottom line. What is that middle line? Wolf mentioned time and again in his conversation, and hence I said I'll deviate and I'll just speak on this. Yeah. That word is culture. If you really want any organization to drive sustainable growth, you need a strong culture. So top line, middle line, the line that works is a culture. I'll translate this to a human body. Say if your head is your top line and if your heart is your bottom line, then the soul is the culture. That's how culture is so important and the most underrated word in most of the organization. The organization which focuses on culture, they will out-succeed any organization in the market. In fact, I was going to write an article on this where my proposition was to change the role, the designation of the CEO from Chief Executive Officer to Culture Excellence Officer, because he is the one who will be driving that culture and the others will be the followers. Thank you.
But that gets us to the Dheeraj. That's the place where we say, what are the skills and capabilities which the younger professionals ought to have? And more important than that is, what are the kind of capabilities which the mature, elderly, CXO leaders ought to have to be able to absorb?
asset of you, right? So someone who's been handling teams for a while now. Earlier it was very easy, so everybody was from my generation, right? All Gen X people, right? So everybody had almost the same attitude, same mindset, and same outlook towards life and work, etc. Today I have millennials, Gen Zs, and a few Gen Xs as well in my team. Everybody's absolutely different. Except for the willingness to work and put in the hard work there, that's the only common thread. Everybody has very different priorities otherwise. And it's not to blame any generation as such. And our generation was very different from our parents' generation, right? I still hear, my father is a retired Air Force officer, and he keeps enthralling us with all the stories of how he used to cycle some 17, 18 kilometers to go to school and all. I should tell him, Dad, that's not my problem, right? I was born in the era when I had the Air Force bus, to go to school and come back, right? And you ensured that I had that bus, right? And we never had ACs in our classrooms. Today, my kids go to school, and their schools or colleges centrally AC, and it's not their fault either. That's how the change has happened. And change is everything. It's an extremely cliched statement that change is constant. But the fact of the matter, it is, right? You're not the same what you were 6 months back, right? Every 6 months, your hairstyle changes, your looks change, your wardrobe changes. I know because my wife's wardrobe changes every 6 months. And so change is everywhere. And it is, the challenge that I have as a leader when I'm talking about, when I have to handle teams which span multiple generations, it's managing their expectations, it's managing their aspirations, and at the same time, given that we are in the world of everything being fast-paced, right? We're always on treadmill. Today India is probably and the only country in the world where we have instant 9-minute delivery, whether it is Blinkit or Swiggy, Instamart or things like that, right? 7 minutes, 8 minutes, you get food or groceries delivered. And we want everything today. So that is the case with the generation as well. They want today, everything today. It's all about instant gratification. And that's where our challenge comes in as leaders, right? That we need to not just understand each and every individual's uniqueness, right? Everybody is very, very unique today. Their aspirations, their expectations, in terms of whether what kind of work-life balance is what they need, they are looking for, what kind of growth trajectory they are looking at. But at the same time, it's also challenging to give them feedback. It's extremely important to get the feedback. But how do you handle that, right? So I can only pull things from my own experience and what we've been doing at our workplace. So we've been, and it's extremely important for the team to feel a sense of ownership, right? Any individual, you need to have that sense of ownership of whatever you do, right? At the same time, you need to become a change agent, right? Everybody's change agent, right? We spoke about how it has to stem from the top, the culture. And trust me, the culture does not change overnight, right? It takes a lot of time, and it has to stem from top, exactly. So how do you do that? You train the leadership first, right? Where it is very important for the leaders to say, okay, we need to train the AI is coming. We need to train our staff. We need to make them more, future ready. All of that. But how do you make people future ready? It's not a magic wand, right? We're not Harry Potters. We'll wand ghumaya and everything is done. No, it doesn't happen like that. It doesn't happen overnight. So you need to have a lot of patience. Everybody needs a little bit of dheeraj, right? Yeah. Right. So, and at the same time, so it has to boil down. It has to stem from the top. It has to go through the DNA. It takes time for that to happen. But how do you do that? There are small things which make a lot of difference, right? So what we do at our workplace is we empower our people. We have so each of my team members, we've made them a product specialist. I'm from financial services, and we into investment advisory, for clients that we do. So each of the products, we have product champions there. So they empower. They're supposed to learn about the product and but ensure that the entire team knows about the product and they conduct training sessions for the team. But remember one thing, empowerment alone will lead to entitlement. Okay? So empowerment can never come alone. It has to come with responsibilities and accountability. So the same person who's responsible for a particular product, let's say mutual funds or AIF or PMS, etc., he has the targets also for the entire team, shadow target, to ensure that the entire team fulfills those numbers. So that helps. That helps in their engagement, ownership, all of that. At the same time, when if you're looking at handling change, right, or being future ready, sorry. So it is again, thank you. It again has to be looked in two different aspects, right? We heard about how the organizational change has to happen and how the individual change has to happen, which Wolf mentioned. So you have to look at in two separate things. It is the organizational responsibility. When it comes to organizational responsibility, it's to ensure that the culture is focused towards making people more empowered. They need to feel the sense of ownership. They need to be trained about what's happening, what's going to happen in the future, how things are, how the technology is changing the landscape. And disruptions, mind you, they are everywhere in every field, right? Our industry itself has gone through significant disruptions, right? We've had right from 2008, 2010, 2013 onwards, we've seen significant disruptions. When we chat up off the stage, we can discuss those. At the same time, as an individual, how do you prepare yourself for that? It's not just the organization's responsibility, right? It is my individual responsibility as well. How do I prepare myself for the impending change, right? How do I reskill myself? How do I upskill myself? So we've had instances where we've made our systems a lot more efficient. We've adopted technology where my reports, etc., client reports, etc., they पहले एक टाइम पे चार लोग. I hope everybody, except for the exception of Wolf, everybody understands Hindi, right? He probably would be speaking much more. Right. So एक टाइम था जब 4 लोग 5 लोग मिलके एक्सेल शीट बनाते थे, क्लाइंट की रिपोर्ट्स बनाते थे, उसके अंदर मार्केट में क्या हो रहा है, पोर्टफोलियो निकाल के क्लाइंट्स का उसका एवेल्युएशन करते थे. Today all that happens through the system, right? So I don't need those 4 people. But what did we do with them? We upskilled them, we reskilled them. So all 4 of them are today relationship managers, and they're doing phenomenally well, right? Because they had the knowledge, they reskilled themselves, they had that inbuilt motivation or will to do with them as well, right? So there are a few things that, when we are on that topic, there's something that over the years that I've learned personally. There are 2 or 3 things which I have been practicing myself, and I tell my team also to do that. One is question the process of any activity that you're doing. You have to do that work, right? The work has to be done. But question the process. Is that the most efficient way of doing it, or can it be better? If that is the most efficient way of doing it, you might as well patent it and tell everybody in the organization to do it that way. Right? If not, question it. And it really helps. It helps. When you start questioning the process, it trains your brain to be a lot more critical and a lot more analytical. Because you're questioning the process itself, right? So that helps you adapt to change a lot more easier than anything, right? Second and equally important is, what is it that is going out of my desk, right? That helps you become a lot more proficient in what you're doing, right? I am my own barometer, right? Am I happy to receive that email that I'm sending to you? Am I happy to receive it in the shape and form that I'm sending it across, right? And third, and which I think Wolf also mentioned, never say it is not my job. It is your job. It is my job. Everything is my job. I'm a leader here, right? I want to be a future leader. Everything is my job. Even if I have to get other people to do the work, right? You have the trash put there. You see that. Either I pick it up or I request somebody from the housekeeping to come and pick that up. Right? But it is my job. If I've noticed something, it is my job to get that thing. Never say that it is not my job. That's when we fail as an individual, right? So it is not just the organizational responsibility, but it is also the individual's responsibility. That is something which and it's a constant change. We're always on the treadmill. It's a constant effort to remain updated, read, talk to people as much as you can, preferably have a passion outside of work, and the passion should be, again, preferably which involves talking to people, meeting people, and always have that. So those are a few things that will help you be prepared for any change that comes in your mind, and also will help you de-stress. Stress levels, again, Rome was not built in a day, right? Today we are all sitting here investing in our today for a better tomorrow. So there is tomorrow. Have patience, right? Trust the process. Again, see if the process is efficient enough. Is this the right way to do it? If that, then trust it. And play golf. It'll give you all of this.
Great, and that is where I would say, request all of you, say, what is that one statement out of your life which you would like to leave with the group here? And there are these keywords about, which is stress, life purpose, change, and how do you navigate this and keep your sanity together. That's so each one of you,
right,
out of your own life experience, what is it like?
And so my biggest experience, learning from all of this, whatever gyan that you got from me and everybody else, that anchor your expectations. I think that's extremely important. Today our lives are, and the entire life is on social media, right? And not everything on social media is actually factually correct, right? So let's not compare ourselves. I am my own barometer, like I said. I am my own competitor. How do I better myself? That's at the end of the day. That should be the only question. Anchor the expectations and trust the process. So and have a passion outside work, and preferably that involves talking to people.
So, Professor Rohit, I may take a couple of minutes, but...
Yeah, you need to listen to that story as well.
Oh, you want to hear the story as well? Okay. So before I get to the story, I think we have been talking about AI disruptors, so and so forth. How many of you know Peter Drucker? Okay. The marketing guru. I'm a marketing guy, by the way. By default, I got into HR. That's a different story, but I'm a marketing guy. So he has been the guru, and I was discussing with one of my senior colleagues the other day, and we went back to 1960s, 1970s, even when we were not born, and there is this image. There is a manager and there is a moron in one image. And we were contemplating saying that moron is nothing but AI. That moron is nothing but digital. So it's your ability, individual's ability, the organizational ability, either that manager manages the moron or the moron will manage you. As simple as that. Now let's talk facts. We talk about roles. What's going to happen in the future? As per Dell report, 85% of the roles that are going to exist by 2030 have not been invented yet. Then what are we trying to solve for? What system process are we creating? And how do we, protect ourselves? So there are 4 things which I normally tell my colleagues and everybody wherever I go. First one is resilience. We talked about leading self, leading business, leading so and so. So resilience comes from you. Second is learning orientation. Keep enhancing your learning curve. Third, learn and adapt to new technology. Whether it's AI, whether it's ML, something will come up, your ability to learn and adapt. And the last one is my favorite, and that's the crux of this entire panel discussion for me. And this is how I represent myself, is a growth mindset. And I'll take few seconds to explain a story on this. So there is this guy in the village, a villager. He wanted to attend Nirvana. He wanted to be enlightened just like Gautama Buddha. So he said he'll go to the nearby forest. He'll go in the morning. He'll do a meditation. He'll come back in the afternoon for lunch. Again, he'll go back. And he'll come back by 6 o'clock. So 9 to 6 kind of job. Except the lunchtime, he'll do the meditation and come back. He continued day one, month two, month three, couple of months went by, and he really got super frustrated. No luck. No nirvana, not even inch of it. So he said, let me give a last try. And he continued doing that in the forest. While he was doing a meditation, all of a sudden he opened his eyes, and what he saw was something magical. He saw that there is a crippled fox, a fox who had only 2 legs, but he was super healthy. I said, how is it possible? In the entire forest, there is a fox, that to be 2 legs, which means he cannot run, cannot walk, and he is super healthy. This is not possible. He started thinking, and he again went back to meditation. While doing the meditation at that point in time, he heard a bang, a roaring voice from behind. And he looked back and he saw that there is a ferocious lion with a food in his mouth, with a meat in his mouth, was rushing towards him. Just to save his life, he jumped on the same tree. He sat over there, and what he saw was a miracle. That ferocious lion has become a generous lion, and he is offering that to a fox, crippled fox. He said, this is something unique. This is not possible. This is magical. This is some divine message to me. And he decoded that divine message as, if I sit here, somebody will come and put food in my mouth. I don't have to go to my village, and that could be the issue, a bottleneck, why I'm not getting nirvana or not getting enlightenment. So he decided to sit there. Day 1, no food, no water. Day 3, day 4. At the fag end of day 7, he was almost dying. And to his luck, there was a sage who was passing by. He asked, hey, what happened to you, man? He narrated the entire story. I was sitting there, lion came in, a generous lion offered food to so-and-so, and I decoded this as a message, it's a divine message, and somebody will come and put food in my mouth. That didn't happen, and this is what happened to me. So I thought my mistake was, it was a divine message. I decoded it as a divine message. The sage said, you are absolutely correct. The message was from divine. It was a God message to you. The only issue is that you chose to become a crippled fox and not a generous lion. Reflect back on this story. And this is applicable to each one of us in our life. Do you want to be a generous lion, or do you want to be a crippled fox? Do you want to be a leader, or do you want to be a follower? Do you want to create your own empire and offer jobs to others? Or run behind titles when the company comes in for the recruitment? Step back, look at the bigger picture. Try to be as much as possible a generous lion instead of a crippled fox. Thank you.
On a lighter note, Pankaj, I heard you saying AI is a moron, and you are sitting next to a technologist. So AI is a friend. Yeah. So I have 3 things. One is remain a problem solver throughout, which means don't try to manage people, just solve problems. That's where you can be a leader and still solving problem. Number 2 is always think about creating impact, no matter what you do. Things that you do, if you know the problem's deep enough, then you can come up with solutions. Then it's all about impact creation. Don't do busy work. Always think about, is this making a difference? And the last but the most important, this is more of a pattern that is developing in, maybe I'm generalizing this. Integrity is very, very important. Many of the Indian founders that I have seen, I'm beginning to see they're taking a lot of shortcuts. And this is a really bad trend that is developing. And you are going to be future leaders. So integrity should be the number 1 thing. Those are the things.
So I'll sort of, probably aggregate Pankaj and Suhas's and Ul's point into probably saying that I think with the lineage that each one of you come from, right, by the virtue of sitting down here, you have already outwitted the competition and you are here, right? So you already have it in you. The point here is, where do you take it from here? And, there is by that virtue, you should also know that by the virtue of having made it this far, the world is watching you. And if not you, then who? Remember this always. And that's one thing every day, that's the mantra you need to give yourself every day. You look yourself in the mirror. If not you, then who? Thank you.
Actually, I heard just a couple of really, this now was one message all the way through, and from the beginning to the end. There was one question at the beginning, I think, about technical engineering. Somebody asked, is there still technical engineering needed in the future? I want to answer this before we really finish here. I think yes, especially in India, you will be not unemployed. There's a lot of work to be done because with AI and software and whatever, you cannot build houses, you cannot build cars or bridges. You still need engineers to do the job. So that's the right thing to do. Maybe I took the wrong job. I'm a CFO without CPA. But comes to the next topic. Important is not what you have learned. Important is what you like to do. And whatever you like to do, you will be good in. And people around you will realize this. So when you come in your career in the past and you see, well, I learned finance, but you realize I don't like it anymore. Don't stick to finance just because you have done finance. You can work as finance manager as well, completely somewhere else, and you can be a production manager being with finance background. Opposite actually, because then you can be the bridge builder between different areas. But really, really important is you have to work 35 years probably until when you stay healthy, can retire and do whatever you want without going to work every morning. You must be happy in what you're doing. And that will impact you and your environment much more than anything else. And never forget this. And in this, you have to be a little bit independent. It means don't depend on others and look up to, oh, if I please them or they are on this career path, this will not help you. It will only give you a cul-de-sac. So be always aware of what you're doing and why you're doing things. You're doing it still for you and your family and not for somebody else. And that, keep it in your heart. Moving forward, you will be very good leaders.
Well, there are people like me who tend to drag on. That is exactly that the time would come where people come from and what they want to be is one very that they do with therefore when you're full of find out who you are, where you go. And yes, meaning
As we conclude this insightful discussion, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our distinguished panelists for sharing their valuable insights and experiences. We would like to invite our moderator, Dr. Dwivedi, to present our panelists with a memento as a token of our gratitude and appreciation.
No problem.